Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Bacon. Welcome to the show, y'all. After 10 years, Brenda walked out of the prison gates a woman who was both a stranger and herself. The world was a loud and fast and overwhelming place. She was 45 years old with $10 in her pocket, a cardboard box of belongings, and a past that was a constant and heavy weight on her shoulders. She went to a halfway house, a place filled with other women who were all on the same and difficult journey of a second chance. She got a job cleaning offices, the same job she had had before the storm. But she was a different woman now. The quiet desperation was gone. In its place was a quiet and steady resolve. She tried to reconnect with her son, Kevin. He was a young man now in college studying art. He had made it out. He was a survivor. Their first meeting was in a quiet and neutral coffee shop. It was an awkward and painful dance of two strangers who were bound by a shared and tragic history. He was polite but distant. The wall he had built around his own and broken heart was a high and thick one. She didn't try to tear it down. She just sat with him. She let him see the woman she was now. Not the addict, not the ghost, but a woman who was just a mother. A mother who had made a terrible mistake and who was now trying to find her way back. She didn't ask for his forgiveness. She knew she hadn't earned it yet. She just asked for a chance to be a part of his life in whatever small and quiet way he would allow. He didn't say yes, but he didn't say no either. He just listened. And for Brenda, that was enough. It was a start, a small and fragile and beautiful start. The rebuilding of a relationship is a slow and delicate and often painful work. It's like rebuilding a house that has been burned to the ground. You have to clear away the wreckage first, the ash, the debris, the ghosts, and then you have to lay a new foundation, one brick, one act of trust at a time. Brenda and Kevin started to do that work. They would meet for coffee once a week. The conversations were stilted at first, filled with the landmines of their shared and painful past. But slowly, the walls started to come down. Brenda told him her story, the whole and ugly and shameful truth. She didn't make excuses. She just confessed. And in her honesty, in her vulnerability, Kevin started to see not the monster who had abandoned him, but the woman who had been a victim of her own and profound and tragic sickness. And he, in turn, started to tell her his own story, the story of the lonely and scared little boy who had been left behind. He told her about the anger, the shame, the quiet and constant ache of her absence. And in his honesty, she saw the true and devastating cost of her own choices. It was a painful and necessary excavation, a lancing of a wound that had been festering for a decade. And in that shared and brutal honesty, they found a new and fragile ground to stand on. Brenda continued her own recovery work. She became a sponsor for other women in the program. She took her own and hard-won sobriety and she turned it into a gift for others. She had found her purpose, a purpose that was bigger than her own and personal pain. And Kevin, he started to heal too. His art, which had once been an escape from the darkness, started to become an exploration of it. He started to paint pictures of his own and broken and beautiful and resilient family. He was taking the wreckage of his past and he was turning it into something new, something powerful, something true. They were two survivors, two artists of their own in broken lives, and they were together creating a new masterpiece of a forgiveness, of a healing, and of a quiet and unbreakable and profoundly beautiful love. And so we come to the end of the story of the cracked vials and the empty promises. A story that shows you the destructive and devastating power of addiction. a sickness that doesn't just destroy the addict. It destroys the family, the community, the very fabric of a life. Brenda had been to the bottom of the deepest and darkest of pits. She had lost everything, her family, her home, herself, but she had, against all odds, found her way back. Her story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, a story about the possibility of a second chance, a story about a woman who had been consumed by the darkness and who had in the end found her own and powerful and lasting light. And it's a story about the quiet and often unseen victims of addiction, the children, the ones who are left to navigate the wreckage, to live with the scars of a parent's choices. Kevin had survived. He had taken the pain of his past and he had turned it into a source of a quiet and profound and beautiful art. And together, he and his mother had found a way to rebuild their family, not on a foundation of a forgotten and idealized past, but on the solid and unshakable rock of a hard-won and honest present. Their story is a reminder that the most beautiful things in this life are often the ones that are the most broken, and that the most profound healing often comes not from forgetting, but from remembering, and from having the courage to face the ghosts of our own past and to choose every single day to live in the light. The final chapter of this story is a quiet one. It's a picture, a painting that Kevin did. It hangs in a small and local art gallery. It's a portrait of his mother, Brenda. She's in a garden, her hands in the dirt, a small and quiet and beautiful smile on her face. The sun is shining, and she is at peace. It's a picture of a survivor, a woman who had been to hell and back, and who had in the end found her own and quiet and beautiful garden. And it's a picture of a son's love, a love that had been tested, broken, and betrayed, but a love that had in the end endured, and that had in its own and quiet and profound way healed. In this story, it's a reminder that the promise of the crack vial is always an empty one. It is a promise of a temporary escape that always leads to a permanent cage, but it is also a reminder that the human heart is a resilient and mysterious thing. It can be broken, it can be shattered, but it can also heal. It can learn to forgive, it can learn to love again, and that in the end is the only victory that truly matters. The quiet and hard-won and profoundly beautiful victory of the human spirit. And so we come to the end of the line. The story of a mother's fall and of a son's in her own and quiet rise. A story that shows you that the most dangerous prisons are not the ones with steel bars. They are the ones we build for ourselves out of a shame and a guilt and a desperate and often misguided need to escape our own and painful reality. Brenda had been a prisoner of that cage for a long, long time, but she had found a way out, not through a drug or a lie or a shortcut, but through the slow and hard and beautiful work of facing the truth of who she was and of choosing every single day to be a better woman. And in doing so, she had given her son the greatest gift a parent can give, the gift of a story of a fall and of a rising, a story of a brokenness and of a healing, a story of a quiet and profound and ultimately unbreakable love. And that is a legacy that is far more valuable and lasting than any inheritance, any trust fund, any easy and unearned life. It is the legacy of a survivor. And it is a legacy that is worth more than all the crack vials and all the empty promises in the world. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.